Welcome back to Chronicles Movies, everybody. Today it is time to review all the movies I saw in the month of June. So before we get started, make sure to subscribe to Chronicles Movies for all the end of the year, end of the decade, yada yada yada. CRP Oscars nominations are coming up in 3 or 4 days, something like that. So make sure you're tuned in for those nominations. It's going to be a great show this year. We'll have more categories. Make sure to go check out last year's show. That's not important to this video, though. Today we're reviewing perhaps the worst month of film. I'll kind of clarify that at the end, but I guess without further ado, let's get started. Also keep in mind that this is an entirely one-take video, so if I ever sound kind of draggy or ranting on, you get the deal. But first up is The Kid. Now, not all those movies came out in June. These are the movies that I watched in June from 2019. So first up is The Kid. 6.0 out of 10. Not too memorable, to be honest. I do remember Dane DeHaan and Ethan Hawke are in it, and Chris Pratt is too. It's got a surprisingly well-studied cast, but the main point I had here was that its plot lines are it's more than the sum of its parts, or it's actually less than the sum of its parts. Sorry. It surprisingly is. Its plot lines are better than the whole. So, like, specific plot lines could be very well better movies on their own, but this one was just kind of forgettable and bland. It had a lot of disconjoined plot lines that, I don't know, when they connected, it wasn't as climactic as it probably should have been. So, yeah, moving on to Dark Phoenix. If you watch the summer movie reviews, this is probably most disappointing, but either way, this wasn't the way you needed to finish out the X-Men franchise. It was anticlimactic. Its cast was bland. The writing was dry. I didn't really feel anything watching this, which, in comparison to a franchise that was pretty great, especially up to this point with all the sequel films discounting Apocalypse, this has really been a great reboot of a franchise. So, this was extremely disappointing. Not that I expected anything super better, but, like, I don't know, extremely disappointing. 5.5 out of 10. Secret Life of Pets 2. This may very well be the worst of the year. Now, I'll make an entire ranking at the end of the year, possibly, but this was awful. It has 3 equally uninteresting plot lines. It felt so much like a cash grab more than a film that had any heart at all behind it. It was just extremely, extremely boring. And despite it having an 86-minute runtime, an hour and 26 minutes, less than an hour and a half, less than the standard movie time, it felt like 3 hours of just non-stop sludge, and it was entirely boring for my taste, and I'm surprised not for anybody's taste. But yeah, I just disliked it extremely, extremely dry. Nothing of value here really, besides the animation, but that can't be really even a compliment because it wasn't even that good in comparison to all the new movies. So, awful film overall. I hate to rag on it, but not really. So, Men in Black International, 5.9 out of 10. This is one of those films that, like, it's intoxicating as you watch it in terms of how fun it is and how humorous it is, and you feel like giving it a higher score coming out of the theater. But when you look back on it, it's hard to remember much of it. It's forgettable. It's very surface level cinema. It's an action blockbuster from June. So it's not anything that's going to have just a ton of depth or layers or anything. So, yeah, Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson are great. So is Liam Neeson. It's very fun, and I would recommend it to anybody wanting a fun watch. But I can't say that it was just great as a whole, nor was it very good. It was forgettable. I kind of, in my review, I like the analogy I used. I kind of summed it up through one character, the green guy. At times it feels fun, and it's fun to watch, and is very enjoyable. But other times it's genuinely frustrating and annoying. So, moving on to Isn't It Romantic? This is hard to critique. It's quite literally a satire made into an hour and a half film. And, I mean, it's fun. Its performances aren't bad by any means. Rebel Wilson is funny. And, I think that was Liam Hemsworth or Luke Hemsworth or somebody, but Adam Devine, that's not important. It was mediocre. It's fine. I mean, it certainly wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't very good. It was enjoyable watch at the time, but nothing really more. Not very memorable. And the last movie of the month, the best movie of the month, coming into the 7.3, is Annabelle Comes Home. This movie was pretty much everything I wanted it to be. I was extremely excited because I love the Conjuring franchise. I mean, I hadn't seen the first two Annabelle movies because those are the two ones that I just kind of want to avoid, but this one looked very different. The other ones are very heavy stuff in comparison to the rest of the franchise, but this one is something that I could get behind. It's not sacrificing your soul or anything. It's a haunted house, which is a fun movie to watch, and this delivered all the fun and all the scares you need. It's got the Annabelle, it's got the performances. It has Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, which makes it 10 times better. And the performance by the child, I think it's Grace. Oh gosh, I don't remember. She was phenomenal in it, and I think at the end of the year she should get a Best Child Actor nomination in the CRP Oscars. Shameless plug, but yeah, it was fun. It had the scare factor. It was just overall a really fun movie. It's not something that's really good or great. It's a popcorn movie. It's not trying to be, and there weren't really any thematically rich, dark, or not dark, but just heavy, good, really great movies from the month of June. This was the best. It was a popcorn movie. It was a popcorn month in general. So yeah, that concludes the June movie reviews. Sorry if I felt kind of disconjoined with all the separate releases, but yeah, in conclusion, just June was a fine month. It was probably the worst of the year so far, and probably for the entire year. 6 movies, none of them exceeding a 7.3, best being a popcorn horror movie, but that's neither here nor there. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for all the end of the year, end of the decade, CRP Oscars coming up soon. Stay tuned in December. We'll have a lot of videos coming out related to Christmas and just the year retrospective in general. Thanks so much for watching. All Vision Nuki Guy #1. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.